All right. I'm just going to switch a couple of things around. Right now, we're like live on YouTube, and then we're going to go live on Facebook. Facebook, for whatever reason, is not cool with you being public at first. I have no idea why. And as soon as they sort that out, that'll be great. Oh,
Cool.
you know what? Yeah. Just give me one sec here.
Okay. All right, everyone, as we wait for her to come back, wherever she went, I just want to say I'm really grateful to be on the show. And
Whoa.
wow.
Hi. I just went on a tour around the internet and absolutely got nothing accomplished. I'm so sorry.
It's chill. No, yeah, I was wondering.
That was wild. What came up on the screen? Was it still me?
Just me.
You were just chilling?
Yeah, I'm just here.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for being awesome. I'm not really sure why it says that it's not going to stream to Facebook. And
It's okay. I'm gonna like share it to there. So
yeah, but it's so weird. Like, I wonder what's going on. I got to sort that out on and see what's happening. That's the second time that it's done that to me. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, I love YouTube. Don't get me wrong. But Facebook is like, yeah, what's good? All right. Anyways.
Cool.
Hi, everybody. It's Casey from Pinecase. It is another Tuesday night. It's been a very interesting week. I just want to take a quick second to say thank you to everybody who rolled out this weekend for our fundraiser. Eddie, I don't know if you know this, but we have this really awesome Metal Fest happening out in Milla in June. And so, yeah, Pinecase Mental Health has jumped on board and we've been like crazy busy doing all of that stuff. But it's been really fun. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, we had a fundraiser on Saturday night, had an awesome turnout. And then we got another one May 31st and then main events in June. So it's been like,
wow, active.
Yeah, really active.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what's been going on in your world? Like, you have to run me through this because there's so many moving pieces to it.
There is a lot of moving pieces with my life.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I'm a man that's all about community. Always have been. I really do truly know and feel that creativity heals us and it ignites a spark in us that, gives us aliveness for being of service to humanity and like really being there with our true purpose, so providing opportunities for people to really be in that is really juicy and what really activates me. So for a little bit of backstory, currently I'm working with West Coast Bathhouse, which is us right here. And so we're a Canadian bathhouse initiative and franchisable company that create floatable wellness barges, drop, which is droppable sauna accommodations, as well as brick and mortar, which is all community-based spaces. And so they're sleek, they're sexy, they're beautiful, they're affordable. Like it's dreamy because we have this amazing team that really, really is like down to create impact. And so we're every single day we're driven and we're passionate to really allow people to feel the power of the West Coast spirit. And we know that in let's just say New Zealand or Hawaii, they have the haka, they have that like, oh, they know what they are, they identify it, they're proud of it, people identify them for it, and they're able to offer that. And we really feel that Canada is lacking that. We're a very young country and we're still trying to figure ourselves out. And not there's anything wrong with Tim Hortons and hockey, but like we're a lot more than that, you know, like we have more. So we're just really coining the term West Coast spirit and just putting it around on that, and really knowing that nature is really a big piece of this. Obviously, everything from the mountains to the ocean and the eagles and the bears, but also like returning to our inner nature and really coming home to that and creating spaces where people can feel relaxed in that. So that's everything from saunas to cold plunges, going to the ocean, farm to table, food to cost, wellness events, and live music. Obviously, music is massive for this, and live painting, everything, stuff like that. So we're really step by step moving in the right direction to make this happen. And we've had investment interests all the way to working with Victoria International Marina right now and organizing epic events and doing the floating barges there. And yeah, we're just making our way. Which is fun every day. And then I'm also volunteering and head director of FAE, which is the Foundation for Artistic Expression. They founded by Marielle, who's like my best friend. She's amazing, out of Vancouver. And she created these amazing mental health initiatives to support different aspects, like they're a nonprofit, but different projects. And so right now we're preparing for this amazing event in September 14th in Nanaimo. It's going to sell out at the conference center. And yeah, it's actually, we're raising $100K for the Take a Hike Foundation and School District 68's Learning Alternatives. And these two amazing projects are supporting vulnerable youth in Nanaimo. So we're getting there, and we're like showing up to all these different places, and we're raising funds and like, yeah, just making it happen. So that is really near and dear to my heart, and really supporting the youth is a big thing. I have a background as a teacher, and supporting youth has always been a deep one for me. And I really feel like this generation is very glued to their phone more than ever, and they're just feeling disconnected, and they want connection, and they don't know where. And yeah, we can help support them by creating beautiful spaces and opportunities for them to reconnect and be with community and feel really activated by that, you know? So yeah, that's a bit of right now, but so,
That's a lot of right now.
yeah.
That's beautiful. That honestly, it warms my heart. I'm so excited to hear people finally, well, not finally, I shouldn't say it like that, but taking initiative and being like, this is what we're lacking. This is what we're going to do about it. This is our plan, and we're not taking no for an answer. It's so important.
No matter what. And we're going to make it sincere, rebellious, sexy, awesome. And
yes. You know? Yes. And with intent, like, I feel like people forget what that's about. Like, if you don't have the intentions, if your intentions are in the wrong place, or if that's not at the forefront, then everyone else feels that. It kind of, you know what I mean? It's whatever. But when people see like energy like that and intention like that and the goal, they just want to jump on board. I certainly do. I was completely blown away when Calico and I started talking about what was happening over there. Not only like I'm an island girl, so it's super important.
Nice. Yes.
And near and dear to my heart as well. Yeah, absolutely. And the island, it needs it in a big way. It's such a gorgeous space.
Yes.
And unfortunately, sometimes it gets, known for the incorrect things. I had a conversation with a youth the other day, and the conversation was more about the negative stuff. And I was just like, it's the salmon capital of the world, man. Like,
Exactly.
And that at the very least is massive. There's so much beauty and all the things that you're talking about in just that one simple topic. So
it's
to
endless.
think that
you know, like we're missing the gratitude piece, because like we're in one of the most beautiful places on the planet, and I guess we get used to the space, but it's for me, it's like never ending beauty. It's like super inspiring. And so what could we do to serve her, Mother Nature? Because she's serving us every day. Every day she's showing up for us. So what could we do to serve that and return to this beautiful aspect of ourselves that needs nourishment? And I feel like we're just coming out of this like intense like hustle and grind culture that has its moments to be that, but how can we really make the impact when we want to go into a project or make the impact to support anybody if we don't actually rest and rejuvenate? Like
Yes.
we're just burning out all the time, and we have a burnout culture. So it's time to really return to that state of yeah, like actual rejuvenation and actual self-care, not just like talking, but actually be in it and make it cool. And so I really appreciate you saying that. And I think that if we as a culture just like put the phone down for a second, put on some good tunes, and like actually we're just with each other's energy and just chatted, we would immediately within 5 minutes feel a million times better. It's pretty simple. So
It's funny because actually in class, the module that I'm taking right now, we're highlighting self-care. It was like forefront. We had, teachers, doctors. It's through AHS, so it's like Alberta Health Services,
yeah.
which that's massive, right? Like to be having this conversation. And when we
Yeah.
talked about self-care, it began and ended with like journaling,
Yeah.
which is
Well,
great. It's
yeah, of
great.
course.
It's
Not
great.
dissing journaling, like
No,
very
no, no,
important.
no.
But
No, I mean,
yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. It's necessary. I like to think that, we're a bit of an antenna too. So to be able to like
Hmm.
collect some of that information and to write it out on paper,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's invaluable. And I'm not trying to slight it in the slightest. However,
Hmm.
if we can think like past the paper a little bit
Yeah.
and look at like the atmosphere, like you're saying, the atmosphere, the sounds, the smells, the textures, the vibrance, like
Hmm.
self-care is so much more than just the time allotted or the activity that you're doing. And it seems like you found a great way to kind of cross all of those things together. So well done. That's
Thank
really,
you. Well,
really exciting.
that's a really good point. It's like we're so shaped by our environment, and sometimes we don't even take a moment in our pause to realize how much. But everything from like the lighting to the textures to the sounds, like there's a way that we can curate life to make it artful. And I feel like every moment and every breath, everything that you wear can be artful upon again your intention. So if you
Mhm.
start your intention strong and you move with that energy throughout the day, everything starts to shift dramatically. And it's simple, yet it's actually takes a lot of practice to like keep your intention back and keep your breath back. But if you do that enough times, like it's amazing what shifts around you, because your internal reality, shapes your external perspective quite
Ooh,
strong.
awesome. Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Yeah.
The word of the week, it feels like, is like bring it back around. Okay, how are we going to bring this back around? Okay, we're going to do all these things, and if we have a beginning and an end, and we bring it back around, it'll be fine. And so it's nice to see people taking like responsibility for the entire plot and not just like these little tiny pieces of it, because I think it's yeah, something like that's going to have a profound effect. And if we're targeting, the youth and the young adults and, essentially like what's going to be the backbone, and we can retrain some of their
Mhm.
mindset, then we might be all right, right? Like we might
Straight
be
up.
okay. We might find ourselves in a place where our retirement might be a thing. I mean,
Yeah,
the elders in my world are like, that's not even a possibility. We've worked our whole life and it's gone. And it's, it's this. And I'm like, you lived in Victoria. Like, whether you live or work or whatever, like the whole space should feel like retirement. Like,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, good point. No,
yeah.
it's amazing. I have again, as I mentioned, I have a background teaching little kiddos, and two and a half to like 5, and they're so like boom open, like they're what like we would all dream to be on the daily, like super present, lots of questions, very here with you, very passionate, and I feel like a lot of that has to do with play. And I mean, if we implemented a little bit more play, throughout our entire lives, like how much more amazing would our day-to-day reality be? And I guess that comes back to like structuring it. And I'm not perfect either. I mean, like I have to remind myself sometimes to be in play, because like we're just in this like go 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 all the time. But there's so much benefit to the nervous system and the parasympathetic just to invoke play, and how creativity can come from that, and therefore innovation could come from that. Because the
Yes.
more that you have imagination, the more you can innovate. So
Yeah.
there's a piece there that if we implemented that more, where would our world be? So
Oh man,
yeah.
I honestly, okay, so I forget, right? We get caught up in the rat race and it
Oh yeah.
happens and it's all good. This
Yeah.
weekend, we had staff meetings, product testing, pre-shift meetings, the event itself with like, the load in, load out, all the things.
Yeah.
And I got home and it was like, 2 days of crazy. I got home and I immediately like started reorganizing my kitchen and made this massive Sunday dinner. And my partner was like, "You need to go out more often." Right?
Yeah, totally.
And I was like, "Listen, like my heart, I feel full. Like my cup is
Hmm.
full. I
Hmm.
had so much interesting stuff to talk about. I was like, there was this pride. There was something outside of the house that was engaging.
Hmm.
It doesn't hurt to be reminded of like who we are as a person, and to play and to tossle with your peers a little bit. I don't think that that's age specific, and I think it's so sad when we lose that.
Exactly. It's so silly that all of a sudden, once you reach a certain age, you're capped from it. It's ridiculous. And it's actually crucial to our health. I feel like if we prioritize play like we do with water and sleep,
Yeah.
I think it's all about prioritizing these things and just making it a part of your integral piece of your day. And that's that, So how can we implement it a little bit more? Like putting on a little bit of a favorite song, going for a
Right.
walk, whistling. It doesn't have to be this like epic
Nope.
thing. Although a big part of our initiative is actually to have adult laser tag and
Okay. That's awesome.
we want to go far with it, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
just what
That's so
ways can we
cool.
implement, you know?
It's yeah, yeah, you guys are definitely on the right. You're not even the right track. It's just happening. Like, um, laser tag. That's so funny. We in my house, we're like Nerf guns are no joke. Well, they're a joke, but it's no joke. We take you know Nerfing pretty serious, and that always grows into something else throughout the day. It takes the pressure off the situation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If ever like someone's having a moment, you just kind of like shoot them through their door or whatever. Like it's
Or you're mad at
yeah.
them. And it's like,
Mhm.
boom. Because of course nobody really wants to be mad at anybody they care about. But if you can channel it through a mode that's like playful, then at
Yeah.
least you're moving the energy. I feel like there's so much that can be stored in the system because it's not properly healthily expressed.
Yeah.
So obviously boxing or just doing something to move it is really good. But if you can start a spark of some play, and it loosens it up, and then it will hopefully eventually lead to a deeper conversation, maybe later on in the evening. But you started moving the energy, and that's good.
Yeah. And not putting so much like it doesn't need to be this big thing. Like I'm a mom, so to me it's really important that like it's a safe place to feel however you're feeling. Those are your feelings and be selfish with them. But
Good
not feel
mom.
like it has to be this, yeah, but it doesn't have to be this massive overcome to get back to like a comfort. Cause as soon as you've like rocked the boat, you're like, crap, I gotta walk on eggshells now, or like mom's mad or whatever. Like
Right.
yeah, and so I think it's important to like like move that piece right out of it. Like if it goes straight from like an argument straight into like, oh, this is what I'm doing next with my day, like that's appropriate. Like we don't need this massive song and dance of apologies all the time. Like,
Mhm.
and as soon as you kind of let go of that piece, I feel like we're quicker to heal, right? We don't need to feel that like anticipation of trying to sort through everything and we need to sit down and talk about it. Like, no, those are
Yeah,
your feelings. Do your thing.
exactly.
We're cool.
Time and place. I mean, like it doesn't have to be this huge thing. Like it's something that should be more casual. And of course, we're human. We're going to go through such a wavelength of up and down emotions all the time. That's the beauty of being human, is that we get to actually feel, and therefore we get to heal, we get to express, we get to shout, we get to laugh. So if you're going to be bold enough and courageous enough to feel the full spectrum of emotions, which means you're truly going to be living, it means you're going to lean in. And so being with others and leaning in and sharing and being confident enough to share is going to give the other people confidence to share with you. And then it kind of expands and grows from there. But it's tough, not everybody's willing, and everybody has different reserves. Some people kind of isolate a little bit more and then open. It really depends. But I mean, being gracious to how we're flowing, but strong and honest in your opinions is also good. So yeah.
That's super cool. And considerate, right? Like people need
Yeah.
to be more considerate, like even just to themselves, like give yourself, like just be more considerate. It's funny, like the minute that you realize like you're not the only person in that space, like, yeah, I hope to bestow that. If my kids leave with anything, I hope that's something that's like, like you're not the only person. And I don't mean like in a house. I mean like you're not the only person in this space, like period,
Well, that's the thing. It's
So-
like, that's a really good point. Everybody's a mirror. Everybody's a mirror. So it's like what the moment I shifted to that, it's like, well, one, I am myself, but everybody is me, because we're all human and we're all alive. So therefore, we're all the same in so many ways, but also you're mirroring back something in me, whether it's something that I'm super stoked on and proud of because I'm like, wow, or something that I'm just need a little bit more presence on. Everything's an opportunity for growth. So it's like, from that lens, it's like, okay, thanks for bringing that up, as intense as that may feel. And that takes a lot of radical responsibility, and that's not an overnight thing. But hats off to anybody who and like sees it from that perspective, because I mean, everything's bringing itself up. It's illuminating itself forward to you, for you to witness, to feel, and to move with. So there's no loss, no loss.
No, one day I like wrote down this thing that I call like sacred ratio. And it was, to me, it's like, what is the perfect equation? What's the perfect amount of everything else or other people that you need to like be the best version of yourself? And you just reminded, I haven't thought about that since like forever. I got to look for that notebook because I was like, there's got to be like a fine tune amount, percentage of each, like a stranger, family, friend kind of thing that makes like the perfect experience or whatever. But yeah, that's really interesting. So how do you get to be a person in this conversation? How do you become Eddie? Like what happened to get to this conversation? Because I feel like there is more to it than just textbooks, darling.
Of course. Yeah. As it is. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, usually in many cases, there's a big catalyst of something that happens in our lives to kind of instigate a broader sense of awareness, one could say, about who you are, why you're here, and what's going on. And so for me, it was my mother's addiction. So that really brought up a lot. And obviously, I love her to bits, like forever. And so that it was really personal to see her go through that. And I did a lot of art. I made a lot of art about it. I wrote a lot about it. Wrote poetry. I did whatever I could to move that energy, because it was always something in me, was an artist, to move that. And yeah, just like seeing her and her rawness, like in those moments, really showed me about mortality. It showed me about my true empathy. It showed me about what love really is. And that really cracked me open. And it really brought me down this road of mental health. Obviously, I was going through my own experiences of that, but also to witness somebody that you love so deeply going down such a road and feeling like they don't know what to do about it and they feel stuck. And what really supported that was her feeling seen and heard and no judgment. Unconditional love regardless really was a huge catalyst for both of us. So yeah, Yeah, that was a big piece for me, and obviously the mental health aspect of that. I went to art school. I started channeling everything into pottery, into ceramics, into painting, into anything I could. Just whatever I can get my hands on, just to like move that and see the mirror of that art back to me as a dialogue of like, oh, that's where I'm at with that. And this is teaching me something. It's guiding me forward into my heart. And so just I made a pact with myself when I was younger to never lose my light, and so I kept strong on that, and I was like, you know, no matter what happens, and you know, obviously there's darkness that comes up that's quite intense, and that moment was quite intense with her and everything. So I chose to keep strong and to really represent what it means to be healthy, what it means to feel good in myself, and yeah, it brought me down a really beautiful path. So I'm grateful, again, grateful for it all because here I am now serving community um,
Yes,
to those who, like my mother, really need it. We all need it, but
we all need it.
yeah,
Thank you for being a good example of what you can do with all of that experience.
thank you.
Yeah,
Mm,
I find it, I find it very moving because it's very easy to be like, this all happened to me. That's why I'm like this. And we hear it a lot, and that's everyone has their own journey and that's their business. So
mm,
that's fine. I think that we're here to serve each other, and
yeah, definitely.
that's we need all types.
Yeah.
However,
Mhm.
if you found a way to experience the same thing as or something similar as somebody else who maybe isn't as capable of making really wild choices like you have,
Mm,
it's really cool to see what comes from that. I know that,
thank you.
simply put, it's easy to say my life was hard, and so it makes
Yeah,
excuses for poor
exactly.
decisions.
Yeah. That's the
Uh,
thing, like, we all have choice. We all have
mm,
free will and choice. That's the greatest thing. So, with that, I mean, and no one's better or worse. It's simply our journey is so unique and so different, and that's what makes it really special. And I remember there was a choice point where I was at a really pinnacle moment of pain about it, and I was like, I could either keep choosing this generational continuation,
trauma, yeah.
addiction, yeah, continuing the trauma, the pain, and keep going down that, and be like, oh, it's
Mhm.
just what my family is, or I can make excuses. I can create a whole framework of dialogue around that, so that I can justify it, or I can really feel it and lean in and discover that the shadow has a gift, and from that gift I can actually like bloom into something more, which is going to take a hell of a lot of strength, but we're going to lean in. And so from that, it's like from the greatest depths of our shadow comes the greatest gift. And it's like it's remarkable that that's universal for all of us, and we all have so much beauty to uncover from that, and we all have the opportunity at any given moment to choose that power and to lean in and to discover it at any time in our lives. So that's fascinating to me. And I feel like I just love seeing people discover that, whether that's in their music or it's in their art or it's on the stage or whatever it is. It's really cool to see people choose it. And for some, it may be a long road, and for some it's not, and it doesn't matter. It's as long as you are continuously taking a deep breath and just knowing that you're powerful and that you have choice, and that there's miracles that can happen from these moments, and then you can literally change the intergenerational trauma story, and you can change it for your whole family line, is awesome and something that
Yeah.
bows to deep bows. So yeah.
Isn't it it's such an amazing thing. I love when people are like, I'm the first college graduate
Right.
in my family. And
Hmm.
I'm like, that's amazing.
Epic. Yeah.
Like, because to some people that I mean, and not to say that's not a big deal, but everyone has a different way to kind of, you know,
Mm.
base things off of. And then to hear that you're like, not only was like education, I don't even know if I graduated, but when I think of education, I think of like, what you're, not brick and mortar, but like
Yeah.
how you receive things, right?
Yeah.
How you receive that information. But to do all of that, figure all that out for yourself, be positive, productive, loving, understanding, and then to turn around and be nurturing to other people
Right.
is some like next level stuff.
Oh, cheers. Well, then,
Yeah.
it's not just us, right? Like, it's like we
Right.
have the power, and it's our decision that makes that shift, but it's really about community. And I feel like we are severely lacking community in Canada, especially. Like, I mean, all over, but like, I have the CEO of West Coast. He went down to Colombia when he was 20, and he noticed that. I mean, we're considered here in Canada like, top
For
tier
sure.
living, right? But down there, I mean, it's not the same, but they are rich in culture. They're rich in community. They're rich in hearts, and they may not have a lot, but that doesn't matter because they're with each other, and they're truly with each other. So he came back from Canada and was like, "Whoa, we are culturally poor."
Yeah.
It's sad. So what could happen if we're more with each other? And I remember when I was navigating this choice point, I definitely isolated at first, and I feel like that's kind of, whoa, I don't want everybody to feel all this pain, so I'm just gonna like revert to where I am, and I'm gonna be that artist that nobody understands. I'm just gonna like make art. And it was cathartic, but then it got to a point where it wasn't really helping anymore. And so that's when being courageous enough to ask for support or to be seen or and things like that. And I feel like typically, like statistically, it's difficult for men to really like be like, hey, like I need support. And so I think that paradigm is shifting. And I know that the age of isolation and the lone wolf is shifting, and we're actually leaning into a new age of true gathering and connection, and we're learning about what that means, and we're like discovering that, and like festivals and things like that are blooming because of all this. But for me, it was brotherhood. For sure, it was definitely like leaning into men's groups was like a big shift for me, and changed the game. And so that
This is so exciting. I don't know if you know this, but Pinecase is actually registered under Pinecase Men's Mental Health and Music.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Yes.
right on.
Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, I grew up with brothers. Unfortunately, may they rest in peace. There's just not enough advocacy. There's not enough conversation. You guys are told to suck it up, deal with it. They don't want to hear it, and then do all the same things, all the same hardship, the hurt, but like go to work on Monday. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there is
Don't
no,
process it.
don't
Just,
process. Yeah. There's no
and
time for any of that. Like we don't have space for this.
yeah, and
And
that creates a lot of danger because if any of us, but if men don't have an ability to actually process anything cathartically, then the opportunity for them to blow up and anger and things like that is very common, or they don't want to project it and they leave. So it's this like typical, like it's a sad response, and then therefore men are stereotyped for that, and that's
exactly.
sad,
Yeah, it's not fair to be blamed for being rational beings. Obviously, like genetically, we don't have to get into that topic. However, just straight across the board, if we're talking about male and female as like just a really basic conversation, women are emotion driven and male are rational driven. It's something that we learn in business school. There is no fluff to any of that. There's no complications. Just is what it is.
Yep.
And yeah, it was basically like why I wrote out my business plan. Part of it was because I was like, I'm going to bring music to mental health. Like they're the same conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not. It is.
Sure.
But yeah, when I not to be too personal, but when I was like 21, I guess, I heard about all these guys who were working in the oil patch, and they were like
Yeah.
ready to take themselves out, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah,
then
for
because
sure.
they're like, man, I did all this stuff for her to leave, and she's taking all my stuff and telling me that I can't see my kids, and I'm
On the man.
paying every penny I have, and all I do is sleep at the airport, and what's the point?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
now, yeah, and then we have like a bunch of kids that are like, I don't have a dad,
Yeah.
on whatever scale that is, right? Which is not doing anybody any favors.
No.
And then outside of that, there was like all these other things that were specific to men. The music industry is another one, hip hop, maybe more so than others, but like the beef culture and like,
Mm.
that was like a thing that I was seeing like within my brothers, who were artists. And it wasn't about killing each other. It was like them wanting to go home and take themselves out because they can't go play shows anymore because everybody hates them. Not my brother specifically, but like this is
Right.
what I was hearing. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if you guys were female, there would be like resources all over the place. You could quit working, you could go on support, you would have free childcare,
Mm.
there's gift cards for gas and ferry and all of this stuff to make sure that you guys get the help that you need. And those are just a couple really easy examples off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
uh yeah, it's just not fair. And I don't mean that to whine, but it's just not fair. It's crazy. So to see anything in that direction of like healing and
Mm-hmm.
men having a space, and I know that the initiatives that you're talking about aren't male specific, but I think that when people see somebody that looks like you, that's relatable,
Yeah.
that is living in that space and living with that headspace and in our space,
Mm-hmm.
doing
Mm-hmm.
these things, it becomes more accessible, right? It becomes
Yes.
more,
Yes. Yeah.
oh yeah, okay, well
Mission.
that guy looks like I look like that's not so crazy. He's talking about this or he's doing that. And that I think is just so absolutely fundamental. So
Well, cheers. I mean, yeah, hats off to you too. I mean,
thank you.
it's really about creating opportunities like this to actually discuss it. It creates a permission slip for people to be like, oh, this is something that can be normalized in my life
Yes.
and actually can be a healthy outlet. And obviously, men want to love well. That's
Yes.
like we all do, but they really do. And they want to love their partner so well, but they're not allowing themselves, let alone their partner, to like open and guide their emotions a little bit here. So,
Yeah.
providing the opportunity for men with men to like, express and share is actually really epic and amazing, and it radically transformed my life and how I view my relationships with brother, because I don't have any like actual sibling brothers, but to
Right.
actually have that with other men and be like, hey, being real and being authentic is the coolest and most like manly thing you could ever do, because you're actually trustworthy. And when you're actually trustworthy, then your partner will actually trust you and lean into you. And you're going to see the best in her or him or whichever. And you're
Whichever, yeah.
best in you, and your children are going to become the most amazing beings on this planet. So it's a pattern interrupt, to actually be like, hey, we're gonna shake this up a little bit, and we're gonna try this, and we're just gonna experiment. And I mean, it's been amazing to have guy friends that are like advocates, but they're also creating these spaces all over Canada, the US. The first time I ever went to one, there was 100 of us, and we were all
Yeah.
down in the desert and just wrestling and creating these like wild animal calls and around the fire and drumming. And it was primal, it was awesome. And it was like, man, we just don't have spaces for this. We're told to shut up and wear this and do that, and we all are, and it's really constrictive. And so it's time for us to take the reins a little bit and be in a safe space, know it is, and share your heart. And from there, you're going to be so much more free within yourself. You're going to know yourself more, and you're going to be able to have the deepest friendships. And we all deserve that. And sadly, men are more likely to commit suicide
Yes.
than women. It's just statistically proven. And so, you know, having voices and speaking to this right now is so incredibly important. I can't even stress it enough. So thank you. That's awesome.
Oh, no, it's absolutely, absolutely my honor. It's absolutely my honor. Yeah, it'd be interesting. It's neat to think that from 2024, you're literally creating a standard. You're part of
Right.
this process that's creating a standard, for culture.
Yeah.
Like,
Shapes it.
let that reverb around a little while. You know what I mean? Like, that's
It's a good
a
point.
powerful thing, right? Yeah, because I mean, First Nations, they're strong in their roots and there's history with that. But when we talk about the melting pot that is Canada,
Yeah.
and not necessarily the history
Mhm.
pre-titled,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
how do you take that many different types of things and right? No one has really taken initiative other than, like you said earlier, Tim Hortons and hockey to
Yeah.
say, like, this is what Canadians are doing,
What we're
right?
proud of. This
Yeah.
is what we're like, yes, about. And this is what makes us like, you know, and that's the funny thing about the West Coast, the East Coast, the interior of Canada per se. It's like when people travel to these places, they're like, whoa,
Yeah.
wow, West Coast, like, look at
Hmm.
this, you know, but we haven't identified it. Like we're it, but we don't even know what we're doing, you know? So unless we're actually processing our experiences, talking with each other, gathering and communicating, we're not going to be able to really create something that we're super stoked and proud of. So,
It's
yeah.
so funny. Like, it's something, and I don't mean to keep using shallow examples, but sometimes it is easier.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a couple of homies last night,
Mhm.
and we were talking about East Coast, West Coast, and blood and crypt stuff or whatever.
Right, right.
And it was nothing. It wasn't not more other than like attire, which is super funny that I'm wearing blue plaisy right now. That was not planned, but anyways, when in Rome,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
and they were like, "Well, you're in Canada," and I was like, "Right, but." It's still the West Coast. Like, just
Yes.
because that border is there doesn't mean that the conversation changed. Like, there
Yeah.
is
The border.
both of those gangs
Mhm.
quite active in Vancouver, actually.
Yep.
And they're like, what? That's not the same. And I'm like, okay, fair, whatever. But why isn't it? And I don't think that it's cool to like be part of gang. That's personal. I don't, whatever. Everyone do you.
Yeah.
However, just as an example, like, why would the American version of that be so much stronger in stance, in culture,
Mm.
than the Canadian version when we're talking about just music? We don't have to get into the violence of it, but
Yes.
like,
Right.
just in the music scene, I'm
Mhm.
like, this is weird. Like, you're right. It's no one knows that these things exist in Canada and they're prevalent if you're here, but we
Yeah.
just don't. Not, I don't know. It's hard to say like take pride in being in a gang. That's not what I'm saying. But it's
Mm.
hard to take pride in really anything. We don't push anything forward at all.
No. In fact, it feels like we're stereotyped as being rather behind, you
Yeah,
know, in many ways.
I'm complacent and
Yeah,
sorry.
complacent, like, it's not, and of course, that mirrors government and all that stuff too, but,
Yeah,
as people, like, we're like, the trucker convoy, things like that, like, there's a
yeah,
big spirit here, and we have a lot of power and rebellious nature, and, like, like, key slogan for West Coast is, "Wild, sincere, and sexy." So, like, that the whole thing, it's like this
yeah.
beautiful, like, wow, you know, inspiration. And so, yeah, the more that we really connect with nature and truly have fun with it, the more that we're going to discover how amazing we truly are
Yeah.
and how capable we truly are, how adventurous we truly are, how willing we are to explore and yeah, and appreciate nature is always going to mirror back something really powerful to us. And therefore we get to coin that and we get to identify with it and we get to actually be proud of it. And that's something that is step by step going to happen more and more as we go. And, you know, it comes from not just copycatting America or just like
No.
programming ourselves as them, but actually realizing that we have a unique flavor and we can be proud of that. And knowing that of course, we're all unified
Yep.
as you know, on planet Earth humans, but there's something about going down to South America or going to Italy that you're like, wow. And so as we navigate that, the more beautiful we can make our world and
I'm
appreciation.
so glad people are finally shaking off this kind of hard shell that has been for so long. Like, I want a space where my kids hear music outside. Like, I want a space where, um, you know, just standing at the beach with your feet in the water isn't like not only exciting, but it's like you don't necessarily need to make like a point of it. And I know that there's individuals that do that, but
Mhm.
it's just, I mean, I've gone to the ocean and seen people with like garbage bags covering their clothing because they didn't want to get wet.
Whoa.
Like,
Wow.
okay.
Interesting.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to live in a space where people are just like exposed and grounded and living. And it sounds like you guys are definitely on your way, or you're not on your way. It's happening now. It is. And the
Yeah.
West Coast is big and sexy. It's always been big and sexy. I know that.
It's amazing.
I've spent many, many times fishing on the ocean, and there is nothing that, I mean, if I'm anyone that's watching this now, then later, whatever, if you haven't taken the time to just drop a rod in somewhere, you don't have to actually catch anything, but just to sit quiet and listen to the feels of the ocean.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So soothing to the soul. It's so
We
simple.
used to talk about dancing the fish onto the boat. And I mean, if you wanted to play tunes, like that's cool, but it really had nothing to do with music, right? Like once you catch that rhythm
Yeah,
around you, it's really hard not to just move with it. So
exactly.
it's yeah.
I'll give you a
Oh,
little bit of
I miss the West Coast. I'm coming out to visit. That's
yes.
it.
There's one thing that we're gonna be doing that I've never seen before, and I'm really stoked on. It's a surf wave. So it's
Mm.
literally a contained surf wave where you can put it like anywhere and in the ocean, on a lake, whatever, and it generates a wave that you can surf. And so it just was patented like 2 years ago by this amazing company in Europe, but it's yet to have been brought to Canada, and we're gonna do it. And so it's gonna
Wow.
awesome for people just to be nearby and to just surf and to go on that. And I feel like surfing is, especially in the West Coast, Tofino, things like that, it's really special and kind of is connected to the spirit, that wild, like, yes, you know, community spirit that we love. So we're feeling that that would be a really cool way for people to connect and to have fun and just, yeah, have a blast. So surf waves.
It's so crazy. So my last guest, Steve Plants with
Oh yeah,
Under the
no,
Mountain.
yeah, no, I've
Totally wicked
connected
dude.
with him. It's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, oh yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Actually, okay.
No, trust me, a lot of the people on your show, I'm like, "Yep, yep, yep. I know them, they're awesome." Yeah.
I straight up was like, "Have you ever been to Tofino?" And he's like, "It's literally why my parents moved here." And I'm
Yep.
like, "Yeah, yeah."
Mhm.
And then I went on to tell this story about how I met a guy in Alberta, and we went back to Tofino, and he
Yep.
stayed, and then he like never went
Wait.
back to Alberta. Like
No,
he's still
exactly,
there.
it's common.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Special.
Oh, the island. Very, very cool. Yeah, very cool. So tell me more about this big fundraising event. I'm super interested on like
Cool.
the particulars about that. Yeah.
Okay, great. So it's gonna be September 14th, and it's
Mm.
gonna be at the conference center downtown Nanaimo. And so we're raising $100,000 for the Take a Hike Foundation and the School District 68 Learning Alternatives program. And so we're just supporting vulnerable youth in Nanaimo and just really we're huge advocates of it, and it's really fun. And lots of different business owners have provided auction items for us. They've offered us big checks. Like they're just like yes, yes. And so the whole idea is that the theme of it is nature nurture. That's like the theme. So we have giant art walls of everything from plants to art pieces, and we actually have birds of prey coming. So there's going to be literal hawks and different wild birds being released to everybody, which is really cool. As I'm on stage, there's going to be drummers, there's going to be fire spinners, there's going to be all different rap artists, like all different types of art. is going to be on the stage. It's going to be in a gala setting, so people are going to be able to be dressed up. There's going to be multiple stages, so anywhere you're positioned, there's going to be art in front of you. And the whole front entrance has it's been offered by my friend Michael at 10 Acres Farm in Saanich. He's offering a bunch of organic fruits and veggies and beautiful flowers and just like nature. And so we're actually going to create these like tunnels of nature everywhere. So as you're walking in, it's like this immersive, creative, natural, beautiful environment of Mother Nature. And so the whole commentary is about what is nature and what is nurture in your life, and what's your relationship with it, and how does that affect your mental health, and the dialogue of your personal story. So the whole thing, we're going to have roving characters. My fiance, she's going to be airbrushed completely as Mother Nature. And so she's going to go out and she's going to like instigate different questions and different things for people. We're going to have a film crew. Yeah, it's going to be like absolutely gorgeous. It's going to be like photo booths and lots of fun. And so that's the thing, like, can we make raising money for mental health super fun, super activating, and again, like everything you believe in, of course, make it creative. And it's the artists that really have this special pulse on the society, on their community and the world, and their own experience of mental health, and they get to bring that forward. And so all these artists are super special, and we actually brought on students from VIU, from the theater department, to help really bring them into their career. So they get to be stage managers, they get to do this, they get to do that. So it's really fun. And I'm going to be directing the show, I'm going to be hosting the show. And yeah, just there's going to be auctions, there's going to be games, there's going to be every single business gets to take over a table, and they get to design whatever it is for their business, mirroring their business on the table. And then we get to vote on it. And like, it's going to be wild. So it's one night a year, and we're just like going to go for it. And every year, like, they've done it before and always sold out, and people were stoked, and we made lots of impact. So it's time. And we're going to be doing it across Canada. So we're representing Nanaimo, of course, but it's going to be like, whoom, the initiative expands all across Canada. And we know that there's different programs in every city, every town that needs it. So
yes, that's so awesome. It's nice that, well, first of all, there's so much to touch on, and I'm not even going to try and pick that all apart, because it's just beautiful. But nature versus nurture, I mean, it's not anymore. I mean, that is the foundation, right? Like 50% of this, 50% of that. I guess Freud said that was the idea, and everything based off of that, if you're going to follow his rules. But I think that when we talk about the way that kids are raised and the choices that they make, those are the two things that always come back to like how successful people are. And when you said like nature and nurture, I immediately went back to your personal story, and thinking like that conversation in itself needs to even be talked about more, because you're 50% your surrounding and you're 50% your genetics. And it's interesting to see how those impact each other. So yeah, good job on the theme, because that alone is just like super, super awesome.
Right. Thank you. No, it's a group effort. Everybody on this team is brilliant and super stoked. And like they're going out to these businesses, and they're going to schools, and they're like creating dialogue, and they're like avidly going to everybody and just being like, let's talk about mental health, and let's talk about how to make an impact, instead of just, talking a little bit about it, but let's actually move that, and let's create action for it. So I'm really proud of this team. They're really cool. And check them out. It's FAE, so FAE Canada. And I can provide some links and things for everybody.
Please, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't be shy with any of that. We'll make sure that everything is linked down in the comment section, because it's super important people know exactly where to go and the easiest way to get there. We try and make sure that like the Health Canada website is also linked in there for people that are reaching out or struggling or whatever. And of course, we have like our outreach crisis hotline as well, which is active 24/7. I'll plug that really quickly. It'll be on there. There's a QR code, you guys. There's volunteers that have that phone on all the time. Be shameless. Call, we will answer. Make sure that you get the resources that you need. We're able to mobilize pretty much in every city at this point. Not that we have active volunteers in all of them, but because of the gift of the internet, while you're talking to one of our volunteers, another one will be collecting the resources and information that you need, and then we just shoot you off a text, and then you're stuck with us because we will be following up the next day. So
well done. That's fantastic. Sweet.
yeah, it's very cool. So other than the fundraiser, because that's just not a big deal. I'm sure you guys bang that out in like an afternoon meeting or whatever. Like
we're having fun, and I think that's because we're having fun, it makes it easier.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, thank you.
So outside of that, what else is happening? What have you accomplished in like your personal life before all of this stuff? Like there's
oh yeah, okay.
Have you ever, because I put your name in Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's some yeah. So basically 10 years ago, I broke a Guinness World Record for the longest indoor hockey game. In Nanaimo is where we did it. And yeah, I was a young lad and it was in high school. And we did it the first year we tried. And so we didn't quite succeed. And honestly, that had to do with like, we just needed better conditioning. We needed, better, everything. But that following year, our friend who was on the team, he passed away in a car accident. And so that like, poof, we were like, whoa, mortality. Cause like when you're that age, you're just like, I could do anything, you're kind of like, whatever. It really humbled us. And so we actually put his hockey stick up near like where we were sitting, and we'd always look at it. And so we were doing that, and it taught me so much about adversity, community, like again, like just like these themes, coming back to like, and at that point, my mom wasn't doing very well. All these things of just like, okay, if I can focus on an intention and I can breathe with that and I can move with that, then this is gonna launch me forward with anything else. So really pushing forward with this concept was kind of crazy. We were like, okay, like, can we do it? Like, but we had to believe. So at least we're going to do it for our friend, at least we're going to do it for him. Right. And so, yeah, we were doing, it was 50.5 hours. So we ended up doing like 4 to 7 hour shifts on. And then we couldn't sleep because our body was hurting too much. And we had to like go into like an ice bath. This is like where please rest and rejuvenate like comes in, but like we didn't really have that. So we just kind of kept going. And yeah, we had the Canadian flag. This goes back to like, being proud to be Canadian. And yeah, we did it. And so people didn't think that we could. And the news actually came down with the press and they were like, whoa, these kids are nuts. And so a lot of these guys, they were going through a lot of home. And so this was a great way to like channel that and to do something. And it was really cathartic. It was painful. One of our friends like broke his leg and he had like the Canadian flag wrapped around him and he had a hockey stick and he had, like a crutch and he kept going. And it was very like kind of iconic, kind of insane. And like, but I think after a certain amount of time, you just kind of get delusional, but everybody thought we were great. So we just kind of kept going. But yeah, that was really inspiring. And then that brought me right into, my art career and just, really supporting artists and creating workshops for kids and really like bringing that energy forward. And yeah, I got a degree in art. So I just kind of leaned in and just explored that and created a clothing line in the middle of that. So I started screen printing my own art and putting it on there. And then I put 10% of the proceeds of every shirt would go towards helping children in the community. And then from there, I got inspired to become a teacher. And then I became a teacher. And then I started working with nature schools. So yeah, there was a lot going on during COVID, of course. But recognizing that, I was like, okay, like there's a lot that's not working in the educational sector. Like, man, like whatever's going on here, these kids are not thriving and they are like, I'm not down for it. And so I went to a Montessori school when I was really young. It shaped me. I saw the difference between that sort of learning, which let's not say it's perfect, but it's definitely something that's alternative, and it definitely was creative and inspiring. And the general sort of flow for the educational sector was quite limiting. And
Right.
so it's like, hey, what can we do? So last couple of years, we started up a bunch of homeschooling pods, and we put them together. We took over this Air Cadets school, and we actually transformed the whole space into basically a giant festival. We just like put art everywhere and tapestries, and we just made it epic. And we every morning we would like jump up and down. We'd like say, I'm grateful for this. We would say affirmations. We would like bond. We would actually be a community, and all the moms were there, and they were stoked, and the dads were proud. And it was like this little version of heaven on earth and like what could be. And so we went out foraging together, and we would build shelters, and we would play games, and we would actually have a curriculum, of course, but we'd go way beyond that curriculum because we knew that truly, like, we're all geniuses, but we just don't have the chance to be it because we're capped in the normal indoctrinated systems. And so serves us, but we can go way beyond that. So finding the unique genius of a child is really cool because they kind of know, like they just follow whatever feels good. And we were listening to them, and we were tailoring a lot of the education around them, and so it was very child led. And yeah, we went on like epic field trips, and it was just awesome. And so it really provided me a great opportunity because there were so many different ages. And I think
Yeah.
that's a real special piece, is the multi-age. So there was like 2-year-olds to 17. I mean, like, it was full, and they were getting credits, like it was legit, but they were all in one space. And so different ages supporting each other is a big piece. And it's actually a big piece of West Coast, is having children and elders together. That's like really not prioritized for some reason, and it really should be. It really is. In indigenous cultures, there's a lot of respect for elders, and they have stories, they have wisdom. And so we brought in indigenous elders to come in and speak, and they would say their stories, or we'd bring in other people to do sound bowl things or drumming classes, or like we brought in different dynamics, because I knew that, yeah, I'm a teacher, but I'm not the teacher. I mean, like, nature's the teacher, but also we all have something to offer children. So, and they have a lot to teach us, obviously. So it was really inspiring to see them all become brighter and more confident, like every single day, in a very dark time. So that was quite cool. Like I would go into like this like bubble of like, oh, this is like, we're on to something. And then I'd go out into like the normal world, and it's just dark despair, chaos. And it's like, okay, all right, I think we're seeing something here. And so I feel like step by step, the world is moving towards this aware place. Does it take a lot of courage? Does it take a lot of trust? Yeah. But these examples were really cool. And so one of the mothers got so inspired that she actually went down to Mexico, and she created her own version down there as well. And so we're kind of, yeah, and it even started a
Well,
little movement where some of the moms created a across Canada sort of thing, where they actually went to communities and started talking about these sort of initiatives for their children, and like, what do you think about that? And started like at least having a dialogue, because you don't know what you don't know. If you think that's just the way it is, you're going to stick to it. Doesn't make you a bad person. No, it's simply the way that you've gone into life. So if we provide alternatives for people to at least look at and make their conscious choice,
yeah.
then that's kind of cool. So yeah, we just kind of went from there, and I started creating festivals. So my partner and I designed a bunch of festivals during that time, because we knew community was important and we need to have dialogue. So we created one called Quantum Awakening, which was about like a 300-person festival in like a Soyuz up in the mountains. And we brought in artists from the US and Canada. We had workshops all about mental health and all about relationship dynamics. We had hammocks in the trees. We had little like immersive art forts. We had artists playing day and night, like constantly. We had the craziest sound system ever, because for some reason they had a $20,000 sound system that
What?
in the back of the trailer, that these guys that I hired, but they were like, we actually happen to have this like amazing sound system. Could
But
we
no one uses it.
But yeah, we haven't tried it yet, and it's actually meant for huge. Do you mind if we
What?
just use it? And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, we don't have
Oh
to
my
pay
God.
for it. He's like, no, we just want to try it out. And this is like in the middle of like forest and lake, and all of a
No
sudden,
way,
the
man.
sound was so good. This sounds good when it's amazing vibration, and you can also talk to somebody next to you quite clearly. Like, there's something about how like, whoa. So
Yeah, that's those therapeutic hurts right there.
exactly. So like we again also bass, vibration, shaking it up, dancing, moving. You get to see people back in their playful joy, and this is really a full circle because teaching children and in guiding them through this like play expression, as we were talking about, and allowing space for adults to do that is like my greatest joy. I'm like so pumped on it. And last year I went to different festivals and offered an inner child workshop, and people were just bawling their eyes out and just provided a safe space to just roam and explore and be like a child again is really cool. And yeah, so it's been a lot of festivals, a lot of creation. We created a lot of all ages festivals, which I think don't really happen a lot. And we created like baby raves where like
Yeah,
we'd have like a little DJ, and then we'd have like cool like little things for kids, and just
that's
anything
cool.
to create opportunity. Because why are kids not able to enjoy festivals? Truly, truly.
Thank you. This has been such a hot topic lately, and I don't want to
Yeah,
like crap on anybody, but
yeah,
I got into like a pretty heated debate about what it meant to be family friendly versus all ages. And
right,
ultimately, it's really up to the parents to decide like what's appropriate for their child.
yeah,
And maybe not always. Maybe it's up to the ministry, or maybe it's up to their kid because they've emancipated themselves.
hmm,
That's your business.
right,
However, if we're not creating these spaces that are uh, not only, I mean, safe is a big word, and I don't want to like ramble on around the edges too much, but if we don't create safe spaces for elders and kids, like you've been saying, to just hash out some generational stuff,
yeah,
we're capping everybody.
yeah,
I
exactly.
I've just I'm super spoiled when it comes to some of this stuff because I'm Jamaican, and in Jamaica there is no such thing as an old folks home. So
Mhm. In many
it
cultures, there isn't.
yeah, I mean it's really
Right.
a North American problem.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but my kids are really spoiled because they've met their great grandmas on no, sorry, their great great grandmas on both sides.
Wait.
Yeah, which is massive.
Where?
And
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, my oldest, we took him to Jamaica to go and meet his great great grandma, and the other situation was in Camel River actually. So to have that, like, island to island, also was really powerful to do.
Mm,
Um, but I'm really spoiled that way. And what's
yeah.
funny is, uh, my son wanted to leave the table.
Mm,
So he went and played this like Nazi anthem. I think it might actually be like the German. No, I'm not sure. Anyways, it was very like, if you didn't know what it was,
right.
it could be slightly offensive.
Right.
And that's fine. That was his intention. He was like trying to cause a scene to like leave the
Gotcha.
space so he could go on with his night. And that's whatever.
Yep.
But what happened was I said, "Do you know what your great grandma's favorite song is?" And he was like, "No." And I put on Sink the Bismarck by Johnny Horton, which is the callback song to the song he was trying to be offensive with.
Unreal.
And
Interesting.
it was so funny because all of a sudden, like the conversation that came from that one situation was wild, right?
True. Yeah, absolutely.
He never did go back downstairs. The night was spent talking about, what his interests are and what her
Mm,
childhood was like and stuff that is just so fundamentally important to both
so
of
good.
them
Yes. Yes.
that it makes me sad when people can't understand that it's important.
Yeah. I
Like
know.
we need to be in the same space for that to happen.
It seems wild that it's not. Like, it's so clear, like once you actually get like a true like, oh, you it's like you have to have it. It
Yeah.
just makes sense. It's in our blood, all of us. We really crave it. We crave connection.
Yes.
And we're coming from this age of disconnect into connection. It's like this amnesia. It's like we forgot, and we're coming back. And thankfully, a lot of amazing cultures are just it's so imbued in their very way, that it's like it shocks tourists.
It does. It's so
So
crazy.
funny.
Not
Yeah.
to talk positively about COVID, but I
Hmm.
think that in a lot of ways, there were some neat things that came out of it, and bringing everyone, first of all, the education that you're talking about, I am here for that. I love that. I
Cool.
didn't understand homeschooling until a little while ago when I experienced 100-year farm and some horse training.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool.
it's a big story, but it's really awesome. And I ended up in uh, Wetaskiwin with the Indian rodeo, working stallions, and so like it just all the way around. But in all of that, like the common theme was the kids were there the whole time. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't an age thing, and
Mm,
yeah. So but anyways, that's like a whole thing.
cool.
But what's so interesting is that when people get like upset about the age part and they're like it should be 19 plus and all this stuff, really it's not no, sorry, I was talking about COVID. Oh, I get so excited when I talk about horses. No. What happened with COVID is not only did it bring like the homeschooling part back to what was important, but we
Mhm.
also allowed those maybe like taboo or the standard changed
Right.
because we had no choice but to homeschool our kids. And so people that maybe would never look at homeschooling before, they had no choice. And so coming out of that now in 2023, 24, and COVID's gone away, but some of the standards have stayed, which I
Exactly.
think is necessary. I think like as a little bit of a cultural reset,
Yeah.
if I could pick something positive out of it, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for not having the choice, but to do some of the things that now have become just like an everyday thing.
Yeah. It
Sorry, it
like
took me a
forces
second to get
you.
there, but we got there.
Yeah, no, totally. It's like it forces you into like, oh, okay. Like there's alternatives, there's ways. And it honestly, it super, that era like really broke my heart because I
Yes.
saw children like so confused, so hurt.
Yeah.
And I mean, it hurt all of us, but it really impacted them. And so I want nothing more than for people to not feel constricted or
Mhm.
muzzled in not only their truth but their expression, because we all have a very unique flavor and reason for being on this planet. Like we all have a beautiful gift. And so, and children just like know something's going on. Like they have power, they have an opportunity to share. So let's never stop that.
Yeah, and it was the same with the musicians, right? Like I've heard not only did like everyone was like I was inside, but I've heard like I didn't create a lot of music during that time. I didn't put out any music.
Mm,
Um, but now I'm just like I'm so full of all of this new exciting stuff, and
mm.
the festival scene is back and there's new albums coming from everywhere, and people have finally
Oh,
gotten back to like a full collection of music, like track 1, 2, 3 all the way down in the way that it's supposed to be heard, because now we're not like straight YouTubing it, we're getting it like
mm,
the way that it should be presented and experiencing that way. So yeah, I think that it was an unfortunate situation, especially how it impacted the kids.
yeah.
However, if again, if there was any sort of takeaway, like at least it created, whatever that pressure was
Mm,
for us all to be like, nope, we're taking this back. Like we're not doing that. We're going to take this back. We're going to take back a little bit of the 90s and the 70s and the 60s and
that's
the
nice. Yeah, totally.
1910 or whatever. Like we're taking all the cool stuff back,
Mm,
like,
mhm.
and I feel like that happened. Maybe COVID wasn't necessarily like the reason, but it was the catalyst, I think, that like
Yeah.
we just couldn't hold it together after that, right?
That's the most beautiful thing about catalysts, like
Mm, yep.
in movement, change is inevitable, especially when there's like an energy amping up that really secretly wants it. And then it manifests into something. And then this was a something. and then it provided opportunity. And so, yeah, I mean, there's blessings on everything. I mean, it's kind of weird that way. We could find the silver lining, but also look at also the truth. Like, there's a lot to recover from, but there's a lot of artists that were able to move with that and create something really substantial. And so I'm loving the amount of art that's coming out during this time.
Right.
It's really fascinating. It's really creating a very strong movement of expression everywhere and in Canada. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really neat to be a part of. Well, I have to say, I don't think that there is a better candidate. And not that it's up to me to give you permission, but if it was up to me, for someone who broke the longest hockey game,
Yep.
I think is enough of a torch to then be the dude to be part of creating Canada's culture. I mean,
Thank you.
honestly,
Cheers.
right? Like, there's so many other things that are awesome about you that I could be like, this qualifies you, this qualifies you. But if, like, at the very least, how many other people can say that? Like, how many other people can say that and then be like, but actually that's like minor, like that was massive, it's massive, it's massive, it is. But then you're like, hold on a second, no, like, check this out, you're just like,
oh, cheers. Thank you.
yeah,
You know,
no,
that really means. And the thing about leadership is, I feel like we're all leaders in our own cool way, but if we really step into that role of like true leadership is allowing and creating the structure and the platforms for everybody to rise, not just self. And so we're moving from the I am power versus the like, here is power truly coming into form. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to create the spaces, the places, the structure for people to feel safe, to feel like expressed. And I mean, it's a blast. And if it feels good, then you're onto something. It feels like you could do this every day and you're stoked. There's something there. And I've just been following what I call an ephemeral ribbon. It's something that is like this ribbon of the heart, and you're just following this thread, and it leads to the most amazing people, places, events, circumstances. And I know it's just the beginning, and whoever wants to really support us at this time really means a lot. And you'll feel it when you go into where we're at. And from there, may it spark your own movement or whichever, because the more the merrier. Like, the more that we have these conversations, or the more that we have mental health initiatives or just creative endeavors, the more that is a permission slip for others. And then we start to create this like amazing, healthy domino effect that I think we all truly crave and want. And it's happening no matter what. That's the thing. It's like, it's not going to stop. We're just going to keep going, and it's going to be awesome. And more people are clicking in and realizing it. And the fact that we have the internet and we have the opportunity to share our piece about that means that it definitely isn't going to stop. And the dialogue is super crucial. So thank you, Kalisha, for creating dialogue and just instigating it for people. I think it's really says a lot about you, and it means a lot. So
yeah, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Please let me know if there's anything that Pinecase can jump in and help you with, give you support, whatever. Let me know. I am absolutely honored to have this conversation with you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Definitely chat again and make sure that this isn't, the last time that this conversation is happening. Yeah.
We'll do it again for sure. I would love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, on that note, thank you everybody who joined us tonight. My new buddy, Eddie Graham, no big deal, but kind of a huge deal. Yeah, that's super cool.
Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers. Casey from Pinecase. I'll see you guys not next Tuesday, but tomorrow. We actually have Narcotic Wasteland, who's going to be heading Decimate Metal Fest, June 7th and 8th. So on that note, it'll be another 24. I'll see you guys then. Stay safe. Take care. Bye.